Breaking news, my country people. Buhari's government versus Tinubu's government. Which is better? Lots of Nigerians have been raising questions regarding the leadership pattern of this country. It's obvious we've been moving from good to bad. And every past administration seems to be better than the current administration. Now, let's take for example, the Buhari's administration. Some persons will say, oh, the Buhari's administration had pity on us. But this Tinubu's administration is out to finish Nigerians totally. Some will say, oh, Buhari's government was better. The suffering was not too much. But now, it's as if Nigerians are finished totally. Some will say, oh, Buhari's administration was quite manageable. At least people could afford to eat. But now, people cannot afford to eat. How about the Jonathan's administration? So many persons have been comparing the past administration, the current administration, and and that is it. So now, Tinubu has been tagged the worst president in the history of Nigeria. When Buhari was in power, Buhari was tagged the worst president in the history of Nigeria. When Jonathan was in power, Jonathan was tagged as the worst president in the history of Nigeria. Only Yar'Adua wasn't tagged the worst president in the history of Nigeria. Now, this social-political activist, Aisha Yusuf, has said President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's supporters would ensure a worse president succeed him. Yusuf stated that Tinubu's supporters would ensure his successor, colonize him and makes him a saint. She noted that the former President Goodluck Jonathan and Muhammad Buhari cannot be described as good leader. Now, according to her, is Buhari now a competent leader because Tinubu is a worse disaster? Jonathan cannot be a competent leader because Buhari was a disaster. So at this point, she noted that the biggest problem we are facing in this country is because those we voted, the citizens has refused to hold those they voted to account. They have refused to hold those they voted accountable for their actions. They wait for the national leader to do everything for them without holding their leaders accountable. Absolute power corrupts absolutely anyone who comes in it without being checkmated by the people. They will certainly go rogue in one way or the other. And there are so many people who no longer want to vote for anyone. Nobody will say they are the ones that brought this disaster. At this point, Aisha Yusuf noted that if Tinubu should leave office today, that Tinubu will be a saint compared to the next Nigeria president. Guys, we have to checkmate this statement because this Aisha Yusuf statement has caused outrage amongst Nigerians. Definitely, there will be a lot of reactions because Aisha Yusuf stated that now we have Tinubu as the president. The next president, we don't know who that person will be. But then the next president after Tinubu might be a saint. Because of the pattern of things we are seeing, because of the history of presidents we've seen in this country. The previous administration seems to be way more better than the current. We keep on moving from frying pan to fire and from fire to a deeper fire. During Jonathan's administration, people were saying, oh, Jonathan was weak. He couldn't handle Boko Haram. And then what happened? They said they need change. Nigerians needed change. And then they vote, Buhari into power. Some persons even worked against Jonathan. And Buhari came to power. What happened during Buhari's administration? Nigerians' eyes were open. They were like, oh, this Buhari's administration is hell. We miss Jonathan. We miss Jonathan. And in 2023, they tried bringing Jonathan back. Some persons even bought nomination form, that's presidential form for Jonathan, but he refused. He did not pick the form. And then Tinubu came into power. Some persons are now saying, oh, in fact, Buhari's administration, Buhari's government was quite better. The suffering was a little bit lesser than what we are suffering now. But Aisha Yusuf has told Nigerians that at this point, we keep on blaming our leaders when we ought to blame ourselves. Because at this point, we keep on moving from a frying pan to a fire situation with each administration. It's a disaster. We have failed to hold our leaders responsible. We failed to hold our leaders accountable for their actions. So my country people, what are your thoughts on this? At this point, a lot of persons have concluded that this Tinubu's administration currently has no plans for Nigerians. Some are saying, Goodluck Jonathan's administration was far, far better than this Tinubu's administration. Some are even saying Buhari's administration was largely fixed on, some things, but Tinubu's administration, nobody know where Nigeria is going to. We don't know where this country is going to. I mean, a year and 6 months after Tinubu's administration, we are yet to see the light at the end of the tunnel. But at this point, what can we say? What can we say? Buhari's government was the worst. Tinubu's government was, in fact, is a disaster. Buhari's government was the worst in Nigeria's history. Currently, Tinubu's government is a disaster. It's a massive disaster because our economy has collapsed. Look at how many times our national grid is collapsing. In a month, the national grid has collapsed up to 11 times in a month, going to 12 times in a month. How do we go in this country when the national grid is not standing? At this point, everything is messed up. So my country people, what are your thoughts on this? At this point, Tinubu needs a lot of innovation to drive this economy. Tinubu needs so many things to drive this economy. He needs to move our economy forward. He needs to do something tangible for the masses. Tinubu's government is more focused on palliative, sharing rights to the masses, and making fake promises and lying to the people. Tinubu's administration is far more centered on that. So guys, I'm dropping here. What are your thoughts on Aisha Yusuf's, statement regarding Tinubu being a saint compared to the next Nigerian president? I'm dropping here. Kindly share.